Joining us now is NBA draft analyst for Yahoo Sports. She also is a contributor to Rivals as well. But she has her mock draft out right now leading up to the NBA draft just 2 days away. It's Krysten Peak joining us now. Krysten, how you doing?
I am great. I mean, it's draft week. It's my Christmas on a Wednesday. You know, most fans spend about a week or two diving into the upcoming draft class. I spend a year plus scouting, getting to know these kids. So I'm really excited. It's graduation, Christmas morning, whatever you want to call it. I love this time of year.
Okay, how do you parse through all of the information that's coming out? Like, because we have these big waves that come a few days before. When you start about a week out, and then really like today is when we hear some truly wild things coming out about teams wanting to move up, you know, guys that were maybe later in the lottery moving up to the front of the lottery, and then guys who were top lottery guys moving down. How do you kind of parse through that and go with the information that you've gathered over a year plus with a lot of these prospects to here we are just 2 days out, and it seems like the narrative changes on them?
We are at the time of year where every single person I talk to, every single person that has sources within teams, talks to agents, talks to family members, whatever, every single person is going to lie to you to try to get their player, their person in a favorable position. Or if you're talking to a team, they want to try to squeeze information out, what you're hearing about teams that are picking before you, while giving you smoke so the player that they want actually ends up falling to them. So if you know that going in, knowing that only probably 10 to 20% of whatever information you're getting out from whoever you're talking to is true, and the rest is just smoke, because I'll tell you what, I've had several agents tell me, oh, no, he's not going past 20. He's not going past 25. Well, 40 players aren't going in the first round, and they're absolutely not going in the top 20. So which is it? Like, I don't want to hear it. Just give me realistic draft ranges for your players, please.
You just need the Maury Povich gif of "we deemed that was a lie." You could just send that out on repeat.
Krysten, it's prime lying season, and one of the big smoke signals that I guess it's coming out this morning is some of the bigger risers and bigger fallers. Zach Edey's a guy that Kevin O'Connor linked to the Trailblazers as possibly going number 7. It's not a secret that he had a great workout in Portland. I think that's the thing that a lot of people are extrapolating from. When you're looking at the guys who are the last second risers, last second fallers, who are some of the candidates you're looking at on both sides of that?
It's definitely not Zach Edey. I'm going to say that. You are not. If I'm a GM, I am not taking him, not even in the lottery, but I understand the intrigue with him at 14 to the Trailblazers. Mm-hmm. But 7, you got to be out of your mind, especially on what could possibly still be at the board there. I mean, you hear about Donovan Clinton. I think he's going to be interesting if the Hawks don't take him at 1 in terms of team fit. You know, now we're hearing the rumor, oh, the Spurs are interested in him coming in, being a twin tower with Embiid. That is smoke. They are targeting playmakers. They're targeting a ball handler with the 4th pick, either Reed Shepherd or possibly Stephon Castle. I think where the draft starts and gets interesting is at 5, right? Because they don't necessarily, if Castle falls and he's there at 5, they don't need him. But would that intrigue Portland to trade up or Memphis to trade up to try to get, the second best center, the best rim protector in this draft class? So I think that's where ultimately the draft starts, is at pick number 5. I do think we're going to see those conversations with trades. I think the only team that could trade up to number 1 to Atlanta is the San Antonio Spurs, just with the draft swaps that they have from the DeJounte Murray, because Atlanta's not just going to give a player up. They're going to want future picks, because we all know what's coming up with Cooper Flagg and Ace Bailey next year, and AJ DeBonsa and Cameron Boozer the following year. So that's kind of like the smoke that we're all starting to filter through. But the first pick at 7, I think, the Trailblazers are in a really good spot in terms of the wings there and the upside and the playmaking, around the perimeter. Because we just saw a Boston Celtics team that won playing 5 out. So you don't necessarily need that traditional 7'5", 300-pound center in Zach Edey.
With how everything is starting to line up, obviously there's a lot that's pointing at Zachary Richer at number 1. If Klingon were to go number 1, let's say there's a last-second pivot and everything flips on its head, what does that do to teams' boards? Because that seems to be the thing that just sends everything into chaos. It's not SAR going 1. It's not literally anyone else going 1. But if Klingon all of a sudden goes 1, how weird do things get?
I think it gets weird in the sense where I think, a Klingon would go number 1 to Atlanta. 2 would probably be Alex Sarr. I think they're wanting to bring in some rim protection and versatility at 7'1". And remember, they just drafted, kind of like the secondary twin of Zachary Richer and Bilal Coulibaly last year. So that would be repetitive at 2. 3 is where it gets interesting because I think if Richer was still on the board, I think the Spurs would try to make a play at him at 3 with Houston. So that could get interesting there just with the French connection and what he projects, on the wing playing alongside Victor Wembanyama with his defensive versatility. That's where I think it could get very interesting if Donovan Klingon does go number 1. Then you're looking at it and you're like, okay, if they make a play for Richer, Reed Shepherd would fall to probably Houston if they made that swap. 5, Modest Buzelis. 6, probably Cody Williams, and then it's you to choose your own adventure. At 7, you can go Tijan Salon, you can go Ron Holland. Try to get some more size to play alongside the backcourt with Scoot, Anthony, and Shane Sharp.
And that's kind of something that here in Portland we're looking at. Wing help is probably the biggest upgrade that the Blazers could have at 7 in this draft. And I want to get your thoughts on those guys that are in that range, whether it's Modest Buzelis, Cody Williams, Tijan Salam, or Ron Holland. What do you see in those guys as a potential fit in Portland? And your mock that is up now at Yahoo Sports has Cody Williams, the Colorado Buffalo, going 7 to Portland. Where do you see those fits in kind of what could help Portland and what they could bring to the table?
I think what's so exciting about this draft in terms of the uncertainty and lack of star power is that there is a ton of length and potential that teams are going to love getting into their door, their system, being able to, kind of mold them at a very young age. I think this is one of the youngest draft classes at that position. We're looking at players that are still 18 years old, not turning 19 until July and August. So that is probably what I am most excited about this draft, and just seeing how quickly they transition, right? Because there is going to be a grace period, I think, for all 3 or 4 of those players, with Modest, with Tijan, with Cody, and with Ron. And you look at their 1-year body of work and just the strides that all of them made in different sort of departments. I think Modest, it was his body. He put on 25 pounds of muscle. Ron, it was kind of like his leadership. He said, okay, this G League team sucks. I'm going to be the guy that scores. I don't care. I'm going to work through my turnovers. With Cody, he's kind of a slow burn, but his defensive upside kind of projects to a Jaden McDaniels type player. And he's farther along than his brother was as a prospect at his age. And now we're looking at Jalen Williams, who's going to be a max contract guy on a playoff team in OKC. So, and Tijan, I mean, hello, the Wimby wave. All you have to do is look at the products coming out of there and see his upside. So there are a lot of great options, I think, for that first pick at 7 for the Trailblazers.
We're talking with Krysten Peek of Yahoo Sports ahead of the NBA draft. Krysten, who's this draft's Cam Johnson? Who's the one that nobody has, that a team is going to fall in love with and say, screw it, we're going to take our guy ahead of where he's mocked?
Oh man, there could be a couple, and not necessarily like a Cam Johnson, but you look at Nikola Topic, who has the partially torn ACL, and I have him falling to 18 in my mock because it's been very, very hush hush. Teams aren't letting any information leak out, whether they've met with him or not, which could be a good or bad thing. And so it would not surprise me, even though it would, if the Spurs took him at 4 or 8. And just decided just to be patient with his recovery because of what he projects after his injury. I think he's one of the best passers in this draft class, has good size at 6'6". They call him the Serbian Josh Giddey. So he is someone that I'm very, very interested to see where he falls, because he could literally go anywhere from 4, I think, to 20.
That I don't like you saying that because that just leads me to believe that San Antonio will suck again this year and then get the number 1 pick in 2025 and then be great for 25 more years. You know, they have already got Wemby. They're going to have 2 top 10 picks this year. And that just makes my heart hurt right now. So thank you for doing that. Appreciate that. Looking a little bit further down, as Portland has 2 lottery picks, 7 smack dab in the middle, and then obviously the pick at 14 in the back half of that lottery. What type of talent are you seeing there? I mean, we hear Zach Edey at 7 and everybody cringed, and I loved hearing that not there. But he could be in play there. Where do you see, because this is a wild draft that we don't know really what's going to happen in the front half, and it could dictate that back half of the lottery, and especially that last pick of the lottery. What kind of player do you think will be available there at 14 for Portland?
I think they're still looking at size, and whether that's Zach Edey, which, by the way, like if any team, I'm not even talking about Portland, any team that drafts Zach Edey, they need to know exactly what they're getting. And he's not going to be this starting center that you build around that anchors the defense. He's not going to be that. So he's going to be a backup center. So you're going to give a lottery guaranteed money contract to a backup center that is 7'4", 7'5", 300 pounds. You don't know what his durability is going to be in an 82-game season. There's defensive 3 seconds. He's not going to be able to camp out on the lane. He's going to be hunted in the pick and roll and runs the floor okay. But when you're looking at Scoot Henderson and Anthony Simons trying to lead the break, they're not going to wait for him to get up and down the court. So whoever drafts him has to know exactly what they're getting out of him. I'm still skeptical. Is he an option at 14? Sure. I know that there have been rumblings that Portland does like Zach Edey at 14. I would go more towards Tristan da Silva, who I actually mocked there. Bring 2 Colorado teammates back together. I think he has great size. He's going to be instant impact, just being a older player, 6'8", 6'9", shot the ball well as an inside-out 4. And he's fantastic in the pick and roll option, playing with another speedy guard in KJ Simpson this year in the Pac-12. So I think he would fit very well in Portland, as opposed to a player like Zach Edey, where you don't even know. You'd have to change the way you play to get what you want the most out of him.
Boy, you would have the Colorado connection here. Chauncey Billups as the coach. Jabari Walker is a buff. He's on the roster. You have Cody Williams, Tristan da Silva, and oh, by the way, the GM Joe Cronin is from
Colorado, in the same town as Dalton Connect.
I love it.
Live a couple blocks from each other.
I love it.
Krysten, we'll get you out of here on this one. The Blazers have 2 second-round picks as well, 34 and 40, and everybody wants to talk about 7-14, 7-14, 7-14. But with the way the new CBA is shaping up, the value of those second-round picks is not just growing a little bit; it's growing monumentally. And the value for teams that can have that potential 4-year control on that, rookie scale rookie scale minimum in that range means a ton for a team like the Celtics or the Suns or the Nuggets or any of the teams that are, look at themselves as competitive, but also cash strapped with the new CBA. What are you kind of hearing as far as how teams are viewing those picks in a value sense, but also the players that are being coveted there? Because in the past, it's been kind of either draft and stash or, potential upswing guys where the older guys went later. Now it sounds like the older guys might be going earlier in this draft cycle.
I think what we're seeing, and this is a very good trend because this is just making basketball at every single level better, but because of NIL, you're seeing players that are electing to stay longer in college because they don't want to risk getting a 2-way. They can make more money at the university through NIL. So college basketball is getting better because you're getting players there to stay longer and develop. NBA draft, the players are getting maybe not better, but deeper. So you're getting better value in the second round than you would in years past. There still are those younger upside guys that are just like, I don't care. I hate class. I hate school. I'm going to bet on myself and enter the NBA. You're still going to have those guys. But what you're also going to get is players that are 2, 3, 4-year college players that are more experienced. And so I think that's a win for everyone. And also being a 2-day draft, you're going to have teams really be able to go home after the first night and be able to look and be like, okay, I don't care who this is. Like, we are taking a Dembona. If he is there at 40, we're going to take him. And we're not going to take, they're not going to feel pressure to being like, oh, well, this person fall, this person fall, this person. They're going to be able to hone in on their guy and be like, yes, this is who we want no matter what. So I think that, having two second round picks in this draft in particular is very, very valuable for Portland and for any other team there in the second round.
Krysten, we appreciate your time, not just because of how busy this week is, but the insight that you gave us as well. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Go check out her mock draft. It is the latest one up at Yahoo Sports right now. It's Krysten Peak. Thank you for the time.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, KP.
I think that kind of calms a lot of the nerves of Blazer fans that are out there. We talked about this at 12:15 with the fact that the ED rumblings at 7, they come up, and it's like, no, Portland knows where their weaknesses lie right now.
And not only that, they understand where mocks are. Like, look, I understand, like, go get your guy. There's that, but there has to be a point where the value scaling makes sense. Unfortunately, I was a fan of a team in the Raiders that decided they were smarter than everybody else in the room and went out and got guys like Alex Leatherwood and Colin Farrell way ahead of where they were mocked and spent capital that they didn't need to spend when they did. Yeah. And that came back and bit them in the butt. And that's the same thing. It's true across sports. And yes, the NFL is deeper, obviously, more roster slots and everything else like that. And maybe you can do that in later spots. But in the premium positions, particularly in the lottery, you got to be careful with that spot, because if you get burned, like, it's one thing to get burned and, you made a swing that's, God, I hate giving this credit. Ryan Russillo on with Bill Simmons said, there's a great Neil Olshey line. And it's a great line, so I'm going to give it to him. Mock drafts would look, or NBA drafts would look a lot different if mock drafts didn't exist, because consensus forms around stuff. And there's truth to that, for sure. But there's also, like, there is no mock trade simulator around Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey, and we're all sitting there going, at the Bulls right now. So there's levels to, like, what the hell are you doing?
And the mocks just don't come out of thin air.
No. And they're especially the one at ESPN where Will and Givney and KP are getting real intel directly from teams.